We are free through conscious perception. We are enslaved to anything we don't consciously perceive. So for us to perceive something means that we have to be conscious of it. I can't take the thought away. It's going to be there. I can't take the limiting belief away, but I can become conscious of it. And then I can have things in place that can offset that. I call it erase and replace. So when that thought comes, erase and replace with a better thought.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, I just ask you that you do us one favor, and it's to make sure you follow, because you don't want to miss any of the amazing guests I have coming on this year, and I don't want you to have FOMO. So without further ado, we're going to get right into this one. Shametria, tell us who you are, what do you do? For anyone who hasn't had the opportunity yet to see you on stage, to hear you speak, tell the listeners who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I like to say I'm a small town country girl who had a really big dream. So my name is Shametria Gonzales. I'm 31 years old. I currently reside in Dallas, Texas, but I have kind of been I play and dibble dabble in Arizona and Atlanta. As far as a person, I'm a woman of God. I'm a mother of two. I think that's so much more important than my accolades, because that is who I am at the core. But then when it comes to business, I am a real estate investor. I primarily deal with multifamily. I am a woman who has a not-for-profit. I co-founded with my friend Sophia Willits. We house women who have been sexually trafficked. I have a for-profit called Unleash to Speak. So I help individuals that want to become better speakers turn their pain into purpose and their purpose into profit. So a lot of what we do, my story is that I am a survivor of many things, particularly trafficking. So people know me as a survivor of, and I made it out and everybody wanted to hear my story. So basically that's why I founded Unleash to Speak, because they didn't pay me for it. I was doing everything for free. I was fundraising. I was flying around the country on my dime, raising all this money. And then I was like, wait, I have to find a way to get some profit out of this, because it is my purpose. So that's why I founded that. And then I'm a minister. So I have Grace Ministries, and I do a lot of work with women who've been domestically abused, trafficked, things like that. But ultimately, I'm an undercover soul saver. I'm a light to get out of the darkness. And I'm just excited to be here. You know, anytime I get a chance to spread my story or to raise awareness, I'm all for it.
Amazing. And I mean, I told you this offline multiple times already, but for the listeners, I was a virtual judge at the Great American Speak Off, and that is how I was able to hear your story. And as I told you on our pre-show call and right before we hit record, it's like, your story, it's not that I'm going to compare your story versus anyone else's, but you definitely have a very unique story. It's like a lot of people, like, we had the struggle and then, you know, we had no money, and then, not saying that's bad or that's not, you know, it's still hard, but it's like your story is so unique. And I always like to start off, take us back in a time machine. And what was it like growing up? What was it like when you were a child and during those times navigating? For anyone that doesn't know anyone that have experienced this personally, like, take us back to us and let us know, what was it like living through that and navigating your way throughout the world?
Oh, anytime I go back, it's always a journey, because I have come so far. But going back, to me, every time I do and I share my story, it allows me to connect with somebody who's still in that situation right now. So a lot of what I like to say is, what you make it out of is what qualifies you to help others that are still going through what it is that you make it out of. So for myself, I am 31 years old now. And so I've been saved for about 11 years, and 11 is my rookie number. So
that was my football number, actually. And it's actually my door number as well. So,
but as a little girl, I was born with crack in my system. I had a really hard life the whole time. I was put into adoption, foster care, house to house, kind of growing up. I really suffered with abandonment and rejection. Those were the two things that, to me, I basically based everything of even being in this situation to be trafficked around. Because when I first initially met Snake, is the trafficker's name, I thought he was a father figure. So as a little girl growing up, I was always a student athlete. I was really, really, really excited about school. I thought that, you know what? my life sucks everywhere else, but in school, I'm going to be smart and I'm going to be athletic. So I worked harder than everybody else. I busted my butt. I was always trying to be the first person at school, the last person to leave. And at 15 years old, after doing that, I decided to emancipate myself. So I'm like, look, Judge, I need freedom. It was like, you need a job first. I'm like, okay,
Uh-huh.
you need a place to stay. I'll get a place to stay. So I did everything I could do. And finally, I was considered grown. And so one of the things I like to tell young kids is stay a child while you can be a child. Stay a teenager while you're a teenager. Stay a young adult while you can be a young adult. Don't rush it. Do not rush to become an adult. Enjoy the moments that you have and go through every season, because the only thing in life that's promised is time. And that time that is promised and may not be promised for the rest of your life, but it is something that you're going to continue to have. You're going to evolve. You're going to grow. You're not going to see a baby forever. So just enjoy every moment. Because if I would have done that, I would have been able to stay in a family and being, solidified as, even though I was a foster child, adopted child, whatever, I didn't want to be titled that. So I decided to become grown and emancipate myself. And what that did was it took away anybody's oversee of me. So I was legally grown at 15 years old, out on my own, in my own apartment, working at Sonic Drive-In. And these women came up to me, they started coercing me and kind of just trying to ask me, how much money you make, girl? So the first red flag, why are you worried about what I make?
Mm-hmm.
Second red flag, they started asking me questions about my past because they were trying to see who I was. And they saw I was a broken little girl. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel beautiful. I'd already been raped and touched on and tossed around from house to house. So I had no value in myself, but I had a good work ethic and they saw these things. So that's number 3. Be careful who you share your story with and how you share it, because people are predators and they're pedophiles and they look for people who are just seeking out some type of love or father figure or mother figure. And these were women that did this to me. So they got me, they told me to come meet this man. I went to meet him. First, he was really nice to me and he was like, yeah, I just do this to make some money. But you can't touch the money because it's part of a family. So we all put our money in a pot. I'm like, oh, okay. I get a house. I get a car. I didn't get a car. I got rides. But I got, I'm thinking in my head, I'm a part of a family. So that's where it kind of turned around for me. And, the next 3 years, it got worse and worse and worse. He started having a private doctor come and give us shots. Then you'd fall asleep and just wake back up. And you're like, I know something happened. But then we would have complications as a woman, as a young girl. I was a teenager, 16, 17. And they had private doctor come give you more shots. Take this pill, do this, do that. And so it didn't dawn on me until one of my best friends, her name is Cinnabuns, she never woke up. So I was shaking her. I'm like, Cinnabuns, wake up. And at that moment, I realized it could have been me. And I think that was when started to click, wait, this isn't love. This isn't family. This is actually pretty gruesome. And now I'm locked in my room. At first, I had freedom to go to school. And now I'm locked in the room every day. And I have cameras everywhere. So slowly but surely, they start to kind of migrate you in. It's not like, here, stay here. Boom, do this. Nah, it's psychological. So I raise awareness and I talk about that because that was me as a little girl.
Yeah.
And there was a church that came. They saved us. It was a pastor who infiltrated the system. I was his informant. I didn't know it. And I told him about Cinnabons. I never talked. You can't talk. You don't tell people your business when you're in this world. They'll kill your best friend. They'll hurt you. You just don't talk. So I didn't talk about me, but I had to tell him about her. And that was enough to come and get an operation to actually do a sting on the property. And that is how it got out. And so to all the little kids out there, to young girls that are feeling lonely or feeling depressed or feeling sad or feel like you don't have anybody, I really encourage you to find a safe adult. And I had them around me. I couldn't reach out to them because I was afraid. I was in fear. But when I did open my mouth, the first time I told my truth, I was able to get somebody to help me. They helped to rescue me. And when they did, they helped me to get into college. They helped me write my story. I wrote my story to every HBCU in the country, and I got 28 scholarship offers. So that's how I got to college. And after going to college, my whole life changed. everything. I started redeveloping myself, shifting my mindset, changing my philosophy. I had a team of people around me that appreciated me and loved me. And that's kind of where, my whole life started to be different. So that was me as a little girl. That was kind of
Yeah.
the journey. And I really encourage all young girls. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You are more than enough. And if it doesn't seem right, it's probably because it's not right.
Yeah.
And ask for help. So when I did, my life changed.
And I love your story, and it's so powerful. And the 3 minutes on stage definitely didn't do it enough justice, because you have such a powerful story. And for me personally, in my own personal life to share, I've known two or three people, women that were molested when they were children, or at a younger age, and were all by women as well, or girls as well, in my personal life. And so, like, when I've heard your story, it's just like, as I said, I know everyone's story is a little bit different. It's like because I haven't personally experienced. It's like, what can I connect it to that kind of like would it make sense in my head? And it's like, because I can only imagine how it was like to go through that. And it's a lot of these things. It's, you mentioned in the middle part of your story is how it wasn't, hey, you're stuck in a room. It's slowly kind of inched along, and it creeps up on you, and it made me realize. And while you were saying that, it's like, that is like so many things of life. Like, you don't fail in business. You don't fail at your relationship because of one big argument, or because 1 month where you don't pay rent, or get kicked out of your house because you don't, you pay back your mortgage one time. It's like, with almost like everything in life, it's like, no, it's like 1 month you're a little late, and you're a couple late, and then next thing you know, then you miss a whole payment, then you're a couple payments behind, and boom, you're getting evicted. Your relationship, it's like, you forget to open the door a couple times, and then you start snarking at a couple comments, and then next thing you know, you get into a little couple arguments, and you shut it off, and then next thing you know, boom, you fight, now your relationship is over, right? Next thing you know, with your business, you forget to keep count of your expenses, and then you start getting on a credit card, and then you can't make the ends meet, and then you have a bad month, and then boom, your business shuts out. It's like, with everything in life, it like creeps up on you, and it's hard to see the seeds of what would I call it? Negativity, maybe, or seeds of, I don't know, badness, I guess you could say, for lack of a better way to put it. Because it's like, until you're finally there. And one thing that is true, no matter what you're going through, is that the truth will always come to light. It may not come at the time that you want it to, but it will always come to light. So it's like, what made you cling on to keep on going? Because a lot of people in the shoes that you were in, it's something that is a lot to go through, and so many people, it's like, can't even imagine, me myself included, what that was like to even live through. I don't know personally anyone personally that had been trafficked. So it's like, I can only resonate as much as you share. So it's like, what was it like for you to navigate yourself during some like super dark times?
So for me, I was a team player. Remember, I had a background in being a student athlete. And so I had hope because I thought that I was a part of something bigger than me. If I would have known now that I was in what I was in, I probably would have been very depressed and like suicidal. And, but when I was doing it, I thought I was part of the family. It was psychology. It was my why. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing this for my sisters. Like, if I don't, she didn't make enough money, let me go do one more thing to get some more money and give it to her so she'll get beat tonight. It was not about me. It never was about me. It was about the family that I had created and what we had together. In my little mind of what I could comprehend, that I felt that was what it was. The other thing is, I always say I was poor, but I didn't know it. And then I say stuff like, I didn't know it until other people told me, right? So the true story about me being trafficked, I never said that until I was 27 years old. Before that, it was always sexual assault and domestic violence. I was like, I had this man that was my boyfriend, that he did this to me and he made me do this. And then he started locking me in the house and he would like beat on me and like, he had all these women, but that's okay because like, I don't believe in monogamy anyways, because he put that in my brain.
Yeah.
So it was like, I had went on throughout like everything I'd went through. And I became pretty successful after college. I became a community organizer, ran for city council. I was on all of these boards. I was, running not for profits. I was volunteer coaching. I mean, I had completely redeveloped myself because I never really dealt with what I had went through. I just kept going. I was like, oh, I'm so blessed to be in this space right now, to be doing everything that I'm doing. And I never really grasped the fact that, wait, I went through a lot. So by the time I shared my story, I was in front of a hedge fund. They wanted to create my story as a musical. And so it was about domestic violence and sexual assault. And so I told them my story, and the woman owned a foundation for women who have been trafficked. She was bawling. She was like, because the last thing I said, I was like, I'm so lucky that I had him, because if it wasn't for him, even though when I said messed everything up for everybody, like this is how I was talking. She felt so hurt by that because she felt like my mind was coerced, and I still didn't realize, even after everything I'd been through, I'd been trafficked. And so she asked me, she was like, "Do you know what the word trafficking means?" I was like, "No." Like, what is that? She was like, "Do you know what pimping means?" I was like, "I know pimp." She was like, "Do you?" And she asked me questions. She was like, "Did he lock you in a room and make you have sex with men?" I was like, "Yeah." But, that's what everybody did. It wasn't like I had a choice to leave. I just didn't want to leave. She was like, so it took like an hour for me to really get the idea. And then she told me to read this book called Pimp. And she told me about the movement Taken, and started giving me resources and letting me understand, like, you were trafficked. And once I came to grips with it, that's when I broke down. Until then, I could keep going, because I just thought that I messed everybody else's life up, but I was lucky to get out, and that, I had completely like messed up the household because I told this pastor, and then he came and broke everything up. This is how the only way these women knew how to make money. Nobody made money. None of us had a penny to our name.
Yes.
Snake was a multi-millionaire. This is $1 trillion of industry. This was lucrative. Everybody and everywhere was making money but us. And we were the ones who kept having complications. And just take a pill if you're on your period. This may be TMI, but they would stuff cotton like makeup swabs up us because it would absorb it. You gotta go to work. We didn't get a day off. So it was so disheartening to figure out the way that I did, that my reality was real, because I had, but that on the opposite side of that, that's my superpower. When I was poor, I didn't know it until the people told me. When I was trafficked, I didn't realize it because I thought I was part of something bigger than me, and that this is just what happens to girls like me. When I was out running for office and they were completely murdering my name, I just thought that I was like Eminem. I'm like, okay, so what? This is what happened. This is who I am. I'm for the people. Right. Yeah. So I know that there was politically correctness. I got murdered like in that campaign. They completely diminished who I was as a person. And I was depressed for the first time because I was like, really a good person. Like, I really can lead. I've made it through all this stuff. Why are y'all talking about the bad? That's matter. I didn't know. So that's really what keeps me going, is just the mindset of how I choose to look at the situation in front of me.
Yeah. And I think that's the perfect segue, because it reminds me of this quote I love. It's, life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And it's something that it's so hard to really grasp when you're in the thick of it, right? Because you're going through these hard times, and it's like, my life is absolutely sucks right now, whatever it may be, whether it's, a breakup, or, a business failing, or idea that it was supposed to be the big idea, not coming to fruition. It's like, when you're in the thick of it, it's like so hard to take a step back and realize that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I love just your message of pain for purpose, or purpose for profit, right? So it's like, you took the tools that you've been able to go. There's another quote I love too. It's like, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. Ooh, and that one, it's like, you're like the perfect representation of that. It's like, he equipped you with this story and the skills to tell a story at a level that most people can only imagine. You probably already know, because you're in the public speaking space, that majority, I think now the statistic is that more people fear public speaking than they fear death itself. Wow. So I think they did a study on it. I don't really know where I heard the statistics, but yeah, so pretty much more people fear public speaking now than they do death itself. So getting in front of a room of like 5 people would terrify most people, and you've been able to do that in front of hundreds. And so now you're at a stage and you're doing so much more than what you probably originally thought was set out for yourself.
Yeah.
What was it like when you started getting into these endeavors? What was it like to breaking down some of the beliefs that you had to start flourishing as an entrepreneur, to start flourishing as a speaker, to start flourishing as a businesswoman? Like, what was it like? Because you have several endeavors going on now.
Yeah.
What was that like when you were starting out, breaking down a lot of these things that you've learned and picked up in your past, so that you can flourish in your present and your future?
You know, when you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And I think it was so many people that believed in me, that really authentically heard my story and helped me to be able to become the woman that I am today, that it looked like mentors. It looked like conferences. It looked like investing into myself. It looked like um, reading books. It looked like we're building relationships with people. And through my relationships, I've gotten every endeavor that I have right now until this day. Even being here at where I'm at, I'm literally sitting inside a banker's office who wants to do business with me. And I made a way to come here to be able to do the podcast as well as speak with him because of the time frame and the distance of how far it was. I wanted to be here to do this to make sure that I can connect with him at 3:30. So it's just like, these are the situations that come about. These are the endeavors that happen in life when it comes to me being able to show up and do this work. It very so much looks like me building out those limiting beliefs through storytelling, through connecting with people, and through just building this relationship with people because I couldn't do it by myself. So it looks like teamwork. I think a lot of the times in life, as we choose to go on and do work and connect with other people, we look at like who they are and try to be who they are. But I always looked at it as, who am I and how can I add value to these people? How can I add value? How can I teach myself skill sets? Because I know the more skill sets I taught myself, that people would pay me in order to be able to add value to them. So yeah, I think the belief system came from other people that had what I wanted, that showed me the way. And then we become the top 5 people that we're around. So when I put myself in the right rooms and I connected with the right people, it changed everything for me.
But yeah, but
The greatest things in life always come with a cost. Every time. It is okay.
yes. And I try not to let go of things that I cannot control, because this too shall pass. I think one of my Eastern philosophy helps. Like, I feel like I don't know what they were cooking up over there in the East.
Okay.
Like, they be spitting some stuff. I'm just like,
I don't participate in anything Western. I don't participate in Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, New Year's. I just the Western medicine. I've never
yeah.
because of who I am now. I think the last question that you asked me was, what were the belief systems that I had to incorporate in order to make it, in order to get out of what I was in and to push past, to be able to become successful. So first of all, let's define success. To me, success is progressively realizing a worthy idea. And a lot of people may know a guy named Earl Nightingale.
Yeah.
The strangest secret in the world. But that was one of the things that he said. He said success is the progressive realization of a worthy idea or ideal. But for myself, I think that it's just progressively going towards anything that you feel like you want to do, or that God has called you to do, or that you need to do. Because all that's going to happen is you're going to figure out if it was for you or not. But if you never go after that, you're always going to be pulling from a place of limiting beliefs or lack or less than. So for me, when I got out of it, first of all, not the statistics for women who have been trafficked to not have AIDS, to not have something that wasn't curable, to not have psychological damage, to not have actual damage within their own reproductive system, as far as having babies, to not be addicted to the drugs that they pumped us up with, to get a full ride scholarship, to keep my child that I had from there and have everything I have because they felt like I was honorable for doing that. I just did what I felt a woman of God would do. But to other people, they couldn't believe it. And then to share my story and tell the truth. So yeah, at first it started off as like a bad boyfriend who'd been domestically abusing me, assaulting me, and made me do bad stuff. But then when I realized what trafficking truly was, and then I realized, even though the court system said I was 15, I was a child. My daughter's 14. I can't imagine her going through, oh God, that's all the time I get choked up, is I can't imagine her going through what I went through at that age. She knows none of that. She's never been touched, molested. She's been with me her whole life. She knows love. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's blessed. When I told her the truth about what happened, she was like, oh, that means God's my father. You're right. That does mean God's your father, right? So that means that she's been listening to me. She's been cultivating her persona, her psyche, her personality based on her personal reality. And because I decided to break that generational curse, to take the chains off of my mind, to think that I was worthy, that I've created this life for her, that's what makes me keep going. That's what I felt blessed. Because why me? And then I realized there was two things that survivors deal with: imposter syndrome and survivor's remorse. These are actual psychological terminologies that doctors can prescribe, or psychiatrists or therapists prescribe to their clients. I didn't realize that those were real things, but when I figured out what it was, I have a saying: we are free through conscious perception. We are enslaved to anything we don't consciously perceive. So for us to perceive something means that we have to be conscious of it. And that's why once I was aware of what that triggers were and what I went and got healing. I'm like, okay, every time I feel like I don't deserve something, that's called imposter syndrome, because I do deserve it. So I have to be conscious of that thought. I can't take the thought away. It's going to be there. I can't take the limiting belief away, but I can become conscious of it. And then I can have things in place that can offset that. I call it erase and replace. So when that thought comes, erase and replace with a better thought. So instead of saying to myself, dang, I don't deserve this, I am grateful that I have the opportunity to experience this. That's different. Still not being diagnosed just like, this me. That's fake. But if I could say, man, I have gratitude for this opportunity. That's me. I had to find out how I operate and what state of being I wanted to be from. And then with survivor's remorse, I'd start saying no. I never was able to say no. All of my value was in what I could give another man or give a woman or do for somebody to make them happy, to please them. That was all that I knew as far as value. So my value system I had to create a value system, standards. I had to think about what makes, like, what am I worthy of? What do I deserve? And then I started to hear it from other people. And the more I started to serve, I realized the amount of money I would make was in proportion to the people I service. I was going to be the same as the top 5 people I was around. I was going to be the people that was going to be able to curate my lifestyle. And that, you know, you make about what, $1,000 to $5,000 of the top 5 people you hang around with. God placed me in the room with millionaires. So some kind of way I thought like, oh, I'm a millionaire. That's who I'm around.
Yeah.
So those are just some tidbits for people. Like, particularly, you don't have to just be a survivor of trafficking to be conscious of these things. You know, you could just be somebody who's struggling working a 9-to-5 job and think like, dang, this is all I'm gonna ever have. No, this is your investor who's investing into you while you invest into your dream, right? It's how we look at it. That's what we're gonna get from it, no matter what happens in life.
I always love to say that perception is reality. And it's something where it's like, I was talking to one of my boys. We were outside of, I used to go to the Edge Fitness for the gym. It's a local gym. And I was outside the Edge. We were in the parking lot. It was like 9:30, like almost close to midnight. It was like a late night gym sesh, and it was about to close. And me and him were talking outside the parking lot, and he said something. I was just like, so it just like shifted how I viewed everything. He was saying something along the lines of like 8 billion people on the earth. I mean, there's 8 different realities, 8 different worlds going on at the same time, because everyone has their own view of things. Everyone views everything, and how we perceive everything is in our world. That's the world. We view around it. And so although it's our reality, doesn't mean that it's the reality around it. So it's like finding how to orient your own world with the whole greater world that we're all a part of, but we're all living in it, our own individual world almost. It's hard. I think it's something I'm still trying to find the words for. He worded it a lot better than I have, and I kind of just been diving deeper into that thought. And it's something that's like, as you were kind of saying throughout your story, it's like how you view everything is of the utmost importance. For me, it's almost impossible for me to like willingly see failure. Like it's I mean I could use it. You can use the pain to motivate me. Like I could use it in that way, but it's like it's using the pain to motivate me to then see me succeed. So inevitably, it's like I can't really see myself. I can't see myself losing. I can't see the bad in like what I go through. It's like, all right, it's not great, but this is going to help me get to where I want to be, right? And that's how I see everything. And it's hard for me to say like, oh, this is meant to like keep me down.
With trafficking, that was the only part that I had to come to cope because I'm like you, right? I see everything. It's like, oh, but then I had to honor that many people don't make it out and that this is actually evil. This is something that is to women on United States soil, in Texas, in Houston, in Arizona, in Frisco, in Milwaukee, in New York. So like, once I realized that it was a system, I had to be like, oh, wait, although maybe I looked at it as like I was blessed because at least I had this or that, like I really had to find a way to break through that and be like, wait, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was not supposed to happen to me. But the fact that it did, it shouldn't have happened. But since it did, I'm going to help everybody else that's trafficked. I'm going to put not for profit for women that's being trafficked. I'm going to share my story. And hopefully women that are being trafficked or being pimped or have been raped or molested or abused can look at a successful, beautiful woman that has completely revolutionized the way she thinks, has got an amazing plethora of award-winning friends and family members and people that adore me. Maybe they're not my blood. That's not family. To me, family is people that are there for me, that hold me down. Yeah, when I meet them. So I've created this world, like you said, of yes, I do know now that things can be bad because sometimes I think we're in a space of motivational speakers that are like, you need to know when like fear is good if fear is good if a predator is there, if a man is there and he's trying to coerce you to do something you don't want to do, you need to say no. So like that's the only tidbit of like some things we have to draw a line on to not be so like everything is all good, I totally get it from a place of where you're coming from. A lesson learned is the lesson earned. You earned it because you earned it. If it hurts enough, you're gonna make a change. If it doesn't hurt enough, it hasn't affected you to the point to where you can learn something from it. So you need to keep going until it hurts, and then you can change it.
And I love that you bring that up because it reminded me of what you said earlier about how you just keep going. And while you were saying that, I was just visualizing. It's like you're walking on these steps, but the next step is not visible yet. And if you look down, it's a bottomless pit. But as you go to take that next step, the step kind of reveals itself. But you wouldn't have known it if you just stood there and looked over. It only reveals itself if you progress. And that's kind of like what you were saying. It's like a lot of this stuff, man, we don't know where any of this taken. Like if you were to ask any of us right now, like where we see ourselves, of course we have our vision for ourselves, but anyone who genuinely thinks they could see playing out more than a year, I feel personally, it's like you have to have some type of like something going on because as I said, life throws curveballs out of left field that you'll never see coming. And you can't plan all the worst stuff that happens to us. There's no amount of preparation that will ever prepare you for it. It doesn't matter how many, salads you ate and healthy diets you ate and, ginger you drank. You ain't know a pandemic was coming.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries. No, I was saying you just get a lot of the things that the worst stuff that happens up, you can't prepare for.
I didn't know, and this is going to sound crazy. I didn't know who Grant Cardone was.
Really?
I didn't know who who Pete Ferguson or Coach Stormy were. I didn't know about the Great American Speak Off, but that has changed my life. These people have influenced my life and have me booked and busy and have put me on a TV show. And like, if you would have told me a year ago that 2023 would be the best year of my life, I would not have believed you because I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
But I had faith and I believed in something bigger than me, that is greater than me, that has just awarded me a plethora of things to be able to put on my shelf before I leave this world, because it was never about me in the first place. I always say I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world.
Dog.
Me, whatever you want to say, but I feel like an alien. Like I feel like somebody who is placed here, and people around me are weird. The systems that they put in place don't make sense. Everybody's corrupt, except for the people that I attract, because I know that there are good people in this world. But I also am aware that there are evil people in this world. We got to know that. No matter how good we are, we got to know that there are bad people out there. And we have to be conscious of the agendas that are put upon us. And this, I know your show is tailored to young kids. Guys, the old ways are out. Don't let people make you feel bad about using ChatGPT. Why not make your life easier? Just don't be a slave to it. Still yourself. But if you can find ways to get a shortcut and other people are mad at you because they didn't have that, don't let them make you feel bad about it. Be smart. Know this world is changing. We got to keep up with the changes because they're not stopping for us. They're only evolving. Cloning is real. They're genetically modifying food right now. They're cloning animals. People, maybe already doing it, right? So I don't want to get into conspiracy, but I just want you to be conscious. Remember, we're enslaved to what we're not conscious of. The bank system is changing. Money, currency is shifting and changing as we know it. Real estate, inflation, prices, bartering systems, all this stuff is changing. And I know this isn't particularly what this show is about, but I want you guys, my job is to help you just be conscious and aware of what it is that you need in order to live the life that you want, and start to really hone in on that. And as a survivor of all of these things, as a woman who's been in some of the most powerful rooms in the world because of my story, if I was just Shametria, the girl who had a really good life and went to college and graduated and had 2 kids at home, like that doesn't connect with people. It's not people's life. That's actually 1 in 10, 1 in 100 maybe now, especially if you're Black or brown. So as a Black and brown woman, my last name is Gonzales. My people that were Black were brought her on ships, and the people that were Mexican were taken away on ships and freaking sent away by ICE. So I have 2 strong cultures of people that are suffering because we just have never been told the information to help us to be successful. So my job is, even though my story started off like that, to let you know what my story is, so you know no matter who you are, you could do it too. Because if I did it, you could do it. Because the stuff that I came from is stuff I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But God had a way of turning it around. And not to be religious and stuff, but there's something bigger than us and better than us and greater than us that connects all of us to source. And source, once you connect to source, now you have abundance, because that is all it is. So I know that was like my little tangent, but I got to throw it in there because we just don't have space to talk about the things that really do matter.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's not love and hip hop. It's not The Walking Dead. It's not Netflix. It's not the Grammys. It's not thought culture. It's life. And how do we solve the problems in life as a community collectively? That's what I care about.
Yeah.
Under cover of all this other stuff. That's why I really don't think I've talked to you about my accolades much. I don't really do that.
Yeah.
Yes. I got real estate, house, cars, money, great millionaire friends, all type of perks. It doesn't help your listeners.
Yeah.
That just solidifies that, hey, you could do it too. If you want to get there, focus on investing in yourself and your mindset, and stick good at one thing. One thing that I was good at doing is sharing my story. And that opened up TV shows, got me deals, contracts, speaking gigs, all type of stuff that I never thought of as being lucrative. But I got good at one thing. So I encourage you to get good at one thing, master that, and then create after that. You know, you can save the rainforest after you save yourself. But if you have no money, you can't save the rainforest. I think a very rich man said that before.
Man, I hate that you left on this note because, like, there's so many things I want to touch on really quickly before I ask you how we can find you. And I'll touch on really quickly, man. So you mentioned how everything is changing. I'm 100%, and by all means, it's definitely a part of the show. Right? The Great Reset. I haven't talked much about it, but like this stuff I've been looking at, I've been listening to. I be reading. I be looking into this stuff, the Great Reset and what they're trying to do with central bank digital currencies and how they're trying to change money. Man, I'm very aware of a lot of that stuff. I be reading between the lines. I be doing my research because a lot of that stuff isn't talked about, nor do we have a space to talk about it. Like, and I'm not always sitting here blind-eyed to all this stuff that they're gonna try and do to us and all this slavery that they're trying to reinforce onto us and this control. It's like stuff like that. Yeah, and it's like we feel it's like they want to take us away our ownership of everything so that they can have we can just be like almost like in this I don't know, the utopian society. And it's like I'm secretly like worried about what it is to come because so many people are asleep. But I'm so glad that you brought that up because so many people are just like sleep to like what's going on. And so like this pandemic, definitely sped up that process of what they originally had planned. And now it's like they're trying to put a lot of this into place. So it's like
the pandemic was the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. Literally, it was.
You seen the Louis Vuitton guy, owner of Louis Vuitton? What's his face? He made stupid money off of the pandemic, right? Yeah. As soon as these people are getting paid off of the pandemic. All the pharmaceutical companies. Yes. It's like you just gotta follow the money.
You gotta follow the money. You are correct.
You follow the money, a lot of answers will start getting revealed, maybe more than you want. And as I said, it may scare you a little bit, but you got
first million. Like we have to shift the mindset. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. Maybe it's not even the quality. Millions don't even know. It's not even going to get you through. Like I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Go make your thousands. Go make your 100,000. Go make your million. But I just want people to open up their mindset to know that they are worthy and it is possible to make so much money. Because once you make your first million, it works for you.
100%.
And then like what you said, but like, yes, like these are things that like, although this is about, my story and how I redeveloped myself and what I overcame. And then all of that stuff is just to show you who I am. But then when it gets down to what I can offer and what it is that has gotten me to be successful, that's understanding wealth. So without all of the other stuff, I had somebody who was a multi-billionaire who showed me how to set up my systems. So, and I can share this with your audience. I started off with real estate. I took that money and invested into a Roth IRA. After I did that, I got a trust, a will, whole life insurance policy. I created a not-for-profit, which is a 501c4 because I want to run for office. And then I created a foundation. A foundation is a liquid bank. All of these are in corporations with the state, or either you get your CPA or your financial advisor to set these systems up for you to help your money to work for you. So get back, a Roth IRA right now, it's hitting back at 10, 15%, guaranteed 5 years. If I take money out, then I get penalized. But while my money is in these different entities, it can't be touched. You can't sue me. You can't give me child support. You can't touch it. My money is protected and it's working for me. So passive income is exactly what it says. To do something when somebody's passive, they're like, right? That means you don't have to work hard for it. Yeah. We have to stop thinking that we have to work hard to get to where we want to go. We have to be smart and be in the right rooms with the right people and take advantage of what happens when opportunity meets preparation. Mm-hmm. Success. Because when it comes, it's going to take you and you're not going to know how fast it's going to go, but it's going to be like this because you've been working and you've been praying and you've been steadfast and you've been believing. But it really is the people in your life that are going to help you get there. So I share my system with you because people keep that a secret.
Yeah.
Why? Maybe you don't know the language I'm talking about, but go look it up. Go look up what these things are. And then find a way, even if you have, there's Ameritrade. There's Acorn. Invest there. They round up your nearest dollar to if you spend 70 cents, they'll invest the 30 cents for you. The average American loses $500 a year in change. Don't use cash. Cash is not valuable anymore. Cash money and all that extra stuff, that's back in the day. You better start finding ways to make your money work for you and invest it into some system that works for you so you can finally have some type of leverage as the inflation rises, as the systems and banks start to crash, and as we start to go back to a bartering system. I'm buying gold right now and diamonds. And then I insure my diamonds because they're valued at maybe 100,000, but this, is 120, but it's valued at 400,000. If I lose this, I get 400,000. I think for it. I'm just saying, okay, we have to be smart. I'm not telling you to do that because it has sentimental value to me. But if we do know this, now we are equipped with something that can get us wealth. And all I care about is making sure that the people that I serve have a way to be successful. And success is in direct proportion to your wealth systems. So wealth, when we think about being rich, don't even say the word, I will be rich. No, I will be wealthy. And being wealthy is having the right systems in place that help to bring you wealth.
Shametria, where can we find you at? You've been dropping a whole lot of game its entire show. I know we had a little bit of bloopers in the beginning, but the enemy couldn't mess this up. We had an amazing conversation. Where can we find you at? Where could we connect with you at? If we want to hear more about what you have going on and learn more about the things you have in plan for the future.
Yeah. So this is the last nugget I'm going to give to you guys, and it does have to do with where they can find me at. So anytime you are a new entrepreneur or you're somebody who's a speaker, a coach, a podcaster, those entities may change, but your name will never change. So my name, Shametria Gonzales, at the bottom of the screen is where you can find my website. If you can Google me, if you put it in YouTube, if you put it on anywhere in the world, there's not another Shametria Gonzales. So I use my name in order, and I also trademarked my name. So don't be trying to trademark my name, but trademark your name, use your name, because every TV show, every radio station, every podcast, every news station, every article that's written about me will have Shametria Gonzales in it. And so it keeps a funnel and a channel of you being able to keep everything in a loop, and people don't have to think about what business you did or what. All that stuff can come and go, but my name will forever remain the same. So they can find me at shametriagonzales.com. They can find me on Instagram at Shametria Gonzales, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Google, anywhere on the internet. Just type in Shametria Gonzales and you can find me.
All right, and now it's time for our famous 5-question rapid fire round to end the show. So I'm going to come out with some heavy hitting questions. So let's see if you keep up. Right? All right. Question number 1, what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
Change your mindset, you could change your life. It's all about your life.
And what is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Character. What you do when nobody's watching.
If you could change someone's life with one book, which book would you recommend?
The Bible.
Amen. What is the legacy that you're trying to leave behind?
The legacy that I'm going to leave behind is my name, Shametria Gonzales, everything that's attached to that. Good, bad, dark, ugly, from the time I was born to the time that I die. My legacy is every person that I touch, talk to. So I always make sure that they remember my name, and that's my name is going to be gone. It's going to be here when I leave. So I'm going to leave that behind.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth, what is the first step you recommend they take today? Invest
into yourself. And if you don't have money, invest time into yourself. Starting with self-love, starting with self, not the money part, but you figure out who you are. Ask yourself that question, who am I? Write it down, create a vision board, and look at that every day. And then every day do one thing. And 365 days later, which is a year, you'll be 365 steps closer to that dream. Just start where you are.
Amazing, Shametria. Thank you so much for hopping on. Thanks again for the conversation. I'm glad we were able to connect, and I'm glad we were able to just cross paths. It was definitely one of the conversations I've been looking most forward to. Once I said we first connected, and I was like, I got to get her on. So I'm glad we were able to schedule this and get this on the calendar.
No, I appreciate you. And let me give you your flowers while you're here. 100 episodes is such a beautiful thing for you to be able to celebrate, number one. And number two, you're young doing this, John Mendez, okay? You are going to be one of the people that makes a big impact in this world. And where you are doesn't matter. But what is going to matter is how you finish, and not how you finish life, how you finish everything you start, everything you do. It matters how you finish it. Even this conversation, every podcast, everything. How did you finish it?
Amazing.
So congratulations.
You got me thinking about life now. Like, damn, I end every podcast the same way, the same 5 questions. Is it? Do I have to change something up here? You got me thinking now.